The king is back. The king is back to spit facts. All right, so I wanted to get into basically a review rewatch of this garbage show. Steins Gate. See, there are so many problems with Steins Gate, but the main problem is literally like the plot itself, the premise. It's terribly written, and what I mean by that is basically every episode is basically like it's revolved around the main character going back in time and trying to fix his mistakes. And mind you, the same shit is going on. He's creating time paradox, and there's no consequences. There's no plot. There's plenty of plot holes um, that aren't like actually delved into, and things that aren't talked about, like basically unanswered questions. This show has the audacity to say to repeat its first episode and repeat everything that has gone on in the episodes, in previous episodes and prior episodes, and basically just keep repeating until at the end, spoilers, not really, it's such a dumb show, but basically the premise is about the main character. He time travels and he's telling everybody about his time traveling machine that he uses and his accomplishments with the time traveling machine that he can use, right? This mad scientist, this supposedly smart guy, but he tells who. Okay, first of all, if you have a time traveling machine, who, who in the hell would you be telling everybody about a time traveling machine? But anyways, he time travels, everybody messes with it, so he has to keep going back in time to fix his mistakes and basically see what he did wrong. And then at the end, he fixes his mistake and tells nobody, basically. Wow, such a well written show, such a highly regarded show, such a on my enemy list, because like I've said, my enemy list is a joke. I've already said this in the past. Scores on my enemy list, whether it's a high, like if a show is highly rated on my enemy list, chances are about 99.9% of the time it's garbage. Like you have a few exceptions here, like Berserk, but Berserk is, it's very popular. But yes, Berserk has good writing, but it's actually or yes, Berserk is popular, but it actually has good writing, right? You got Hunter x Hunter, you got Chainsaw Man, you got what else? You got Monster. Now, yes, these shows are highly acclaimed, but they're actually good. These series are actually good. The manga are actually good, right? But on my enemy list, you know, and I've I've watched this anime plenty of times. This show is garbage. After rewatching it, I just had to drop it. I had to drop this show. Like I said, at the end, he basically undoes all of his mistakes. So if you're telling me that the plot is just revolved around, and don't get me wrong, I'll get started on the characters. It's just based around us undoing our mistakes. Then what's the point of watching the series in the first place, right? So Steins Gate, I think it's rated a 9.10 out of 10, which is high, but it doesn't deserve it. So let me get into the characters. The characters are all bland. They're just basically like the most stereotypical. And I want you to look at the word. If you don't know what stereotype means, they're basically the most stereotypical characters. I mean, ever. So you got, um, you got the nerd who's always on his computer, who's always doing these things. You got the femboy, which is basically a little boy who thinks he's a girl and acts like a girl, which is beyond me. You got you know, the Moe girl or the Mo girl, just terrible characters. You got the Sudare or whatever. Basically the character who acts like they don't like the main character but actually likes them. That's what a Sundere is. You got the silent girl who always texts. It's just like, how is this show highly regarded? How? Okay, so not only are the characters bad, and the only character that is somewhat developed, but that's the only reason why he changes is because he's actually doing all the work, is the main character. But all the other characters, all the side characters, the cardboard cutouts, the stereotypical, you know, backdrops. All these characters are just basically backdrops, and every time the main character goes back in time and pretty much fixes what he did, like whether it's something simple, they don't get any development because of it, because there's no consequence. The characters can't learn from themselves because the main character is going back in time. There's no consequence when you have time travel, and ultimately, he fixes his past or whatever. Fixes, when he told everybody, "Oh, here goes my time machine." It's just like, how is this highly regarded? So not only are the characters bad, but the premise and the whole plot is bad. And people say, okay, well, they always mention plot, right? But I like to mention this thing called writing. This show has bad writing. There's no consequence, so the characters don't learn or grow. They don't learn anything. Like I said, everything's fixed because of time travel. Um, the whole plot hole is that there is potentially a time paradox, because you know how in like let's say we have time travel in real life, right? We're getting that deep. Let's say we have time travel in real life. If you have time travel in real life, right, and we had it in the past, or no, let's say we have time travel in the future, right? Doesn't that mean time travel technically exists in the past as well, because you have time travel, and if you can time travel, then it technically exists in the past? Well, not in Steins Gate. In Steins Gate, or there's this thing you can look the word up. It's called a time paradox. And in Steins Gate, there are things that the main character does to like change the past, right? Like I say, he tries to undo his mistake, but there are no time paradoxes. If you do something, like if you touch a pencil, right? Let's say you touch a pencil, or you move it slightly, and then you go back in time, or you go back into the future, that could change the course of events. Or if you take that pencil, that could change the course of events. But this isn't explored in Steins Gate. This isn't touched upon. Plot holes. Badly written story. This isn't touched upon how, okay, if you move this pencil, and I'm just using this as an example. I'm not saying they actually did this in the story. You can go watch the show yourself. But they basically, there's no consequence. There's no time paradoxes. If you create if you create like let's say you take something, it should create a time paradox, and then ultimately, everything should result in a time traveling loop, right? But there's no consequence in the show. It's like, what is the point of watching Steins Gate? Not only that, so the characters are bad. It's a poorly written story. The premise is bad because time travel doesn't work in anime. We all know that. So that's already three majorly bad things about the show. Not only that, the fourth main bad reason is that Steins Gate doesn't have rewatchability. You know how you can go back and rewatch Dragon Ball? Oh my god, Dragon Ball has so much rewatchability. You can go back and rewatch Monster. You can go back and rewatch Phantom of Requiem. Like, I'm about to watch it my third time. I'm actually about to rewatch Phantom of Requiem my third time. Because I love that. That's one of my favorite shows. Now, like I said, I'm not gonna be doing my top favorites until a certain person drops their manga collection. So basically, never. Basically, never, because you guys don't deserve that. But anyways, there's just no consequence, and it doesn't have any rewatchability. If a show doesn't have that rewatchability, that charm, like Dragon Ball, hell, even Naruto has rewatchability. Um, Yu-Gi-Oh, Beyblade. If you can't go back and rewatch it, then you know a show is bad. Um, Especially if you only like the same people who highly rate Steins Gate or just highly rate these shows on my enemy list are the same people who has only watched the show once. A, they haven't fully understood it. B, they don't critically look at it. C, and D, um, kind of going back to point B is, about them not understanding the show. They think it's smart because it has these concepts. Yes, it has not unique concepts. Yes, it has these I guess you can call them big brain concepts, but they're not really big brain. Talking about time travel, like yes, time travel is a it's a it's what is a big word I'm looking for? Like it's a there's something about time travel, right? That's interesting, right? It's very interesting. The topic is interesting. The concept is interesting. Although time travel and all these concepts might be interesting, it executes them poorly, and it doesn't actually write them out poorly. It's just a poorly written series. So that's point D. I mean, Steins Gate not only has terrible rewatchability, not only has plot holes that aren't explored, terrible characters, um, so much plot convenience, bad. It's a poorly written story, and the story ultimately boils down to um, the main character undoing his mistake that he made in episode one. So basically, it becomes a thriller. It's a thriller. It's just a boring thriller, right? And you notice how in most thrillers, in good thrillers, and I'll tell you this, in good thrillers, you have rewatchability. And what I mean by in good thrillers is that like okay, in a good thriller, you may know what's going to happen next, but it's still interesting and it still draws the reader or the watcher in. If you know what happens in Steins Gate, like let's say you're rewatching Steins Gate, it's not going to be interesting. It doesn't hold that high value rewatchability. Steins Gate is just not an interesting show. This show is complete garbage. Like I said, if you like Steins Gate, chances are you're not worth taking seriously. Um, I mean, this show is complete garbage. Just please stay away from me if you like Steins Gate. This show is not only is it bad, but it's just boring. Like imagine watching every episode where it's basically the main character going back in time to episode one, and then he goes a bit further into the future, back in time to episode two, and all he's doing is trying to reset his past. I mean, and then the thing he's trying to reset is basically not telling anyone about his time travel machine. What is interesting about that? What is good about that? Now I can give you okay, it might be interesting to see, not just what happens, but just just to see how the concepts are explored of time travel in this show. I can give you that. The concepts may be interesting, but it's just terribly written. It's not executed well at all. Time travel has never been good, good in anime. Um, there might be like one or two good time travel shows, but then again, it isn't really like a time travel show. They just have time travel in them. But yeah, typically time travel isn't good, and Steins Gate is just a terrible series. Please don't come around me if you like Steins Gate. You have bad taste.